right back in, or I
Yeah,
thought
we're
we
jumping
were
right back in. We're jumping right back
okay.
in.
Okay, what part are we gonna jump back in at?
Just
I,
restart.
I,
Yeah,
yeah,
just
I
restart.
assumed we were going back to the very beginning.
Yeah, we are.
Which would mean, don't we need intro music?
Oh.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of the Lap Down Podcast. We just had an exciting week of racing with the Daytona Speed Week, and I am joined by Cobra, Alex, Brett, and Jamie here for the Lap Down Podcast. Welcome on in, guys. How's everybody doing tonight?
We're
Doing
doing.
good.
We're doing, man. Had a little bit of a goof up earlier. We started earlier, and I fumbled the bag.
And
Oh,
that would be an
we
understatement of the year.
it's a great night, guys. What a time to be alive.
Unprofessional professionals here. Come on.
All right. Well, as I say, we as we started earlier, as I say, we had a very exciting week of racing. As I say, we'll talk about Daytona, about all the on track Cup action all at the same time. I know we did have practicing qualifying in the duels beforehand, but we'll talk about those when we talk about the 500. So let's get right on into the Truck Series race at Daytona. Once again, who all got a chance to see some, if not all, of the truck race?
I did.
All
I did
right.
not.
Yep. All right. So yeah, again, as we mentioned, the a couple of the VIPs for the truck race. Some of the drivers bringing in a lot of extra eyeballs to this specific truck race ended up going out a little bit earlier than a lot of us expected. Yeah, Cletus McFarland ends up spinning the car off of turn four. Yeah, what 6 laps in, something like that. Yeah,
Yep,
which
6 laps.
which then later didn't look as foolish because there were a lot of handling issues off of turn four specifically, which to me I think makes Cletus's mistake not look as bad because I know some of my coworkers were absolutely blasting him for that the morning after, but. Then we had Tony Stewart, who got caught up in a wreck about 25 laps into the race. He also did not manage to return to the track. So that was a rough night for some of the part timers, but it left the door open for a full timer to go ahead and claim the first Truck Series race win of the year.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
it was
what a finish it was too.
yeah, that it was. And say 4 wide across the line for second place, I believe it was.
Yep, 4 wide.
Yeah, 4 wide across the line, battling it out for second place, all behind eventual race winner Chandler Smith. And yeah, those other 3 drivers, or the other 4 drivers right behind him, you had guys like John Hunter Nemechek, who has absolutely torn up the lower series since he started kind of coming back to the lower series to run some races. You've got Ty Majeski, who has been really good. I'm trying to remember, did he win the championship last year? Trying to remember.
Not last year.
2 years ago, then.
I believe
'Cause
2 years
I thought
ago.
he got a truck championship, right?
Believe it might have been 2 years ago.
Okay.
Because I think
Yeah.
Heim won it last year.
Yeah. Then we had. Oh yeah, Heim won it last year. Yeah.
All right.
Obviously, but yeah.
Hey, Ryan, I'm gonna get out of here.
All right. Have a great night. But yeah, and then Christian Eckes and Giovanni Ruggiero had the other 2 spots on that 4 wide finish. And Christian Eckes specifically this morning, I saw the stat come through. He made 271 on track passes in that race, which is just an insane statistic to be able to say, like, oh yeah, you passed 270 trucks in a 37 truck field.
Yeah, that's a wild stat right there.
Yeah. Just goes to show how much he was going back to front, back to front.
So the top five finishing, in which is a stacked group, you had Chandler Smith in a front row truck, which is a top tier ride in the truck series.
Yep.
Gio Rosero, who's in Tricon, that's another
Yep.
top tier ride.
Yep.
Ty Majeski 88, which is for Thor Sport, another top tier ride. But the two that shocked me more was Christian Eckes and John Hunter, because John Hunter was running a second Stuart Friesen truck. He was driving 62.
But the Stuart Friesen equipment's usually not too bad.
But you got to think about it like this compared to say Thor Sport or Front Row or Tricon. They're not a
Thor Sport, especially last year. Thor Sport was really bad.
Yeah, but I'm still saying they're not championship. They haven't won a championship like they have. All three of those teams that I've mentioned have won a championship, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, if Stuart Friesen had 4 trucks on the track each year, he probably would have.
But what I was going to say is, I enjoyed watching that truck race. There was a lot of action, a lot of 3 wide, a lot of moving, like trucks moving forward, trucks moving back. The handling wasn't best, but they still learned. They were learning how those trucks are going to handle in that draft with all these part timers like Cletus, like Tony, like Travis Pastrana. He was in there till the end. You got Cup regulars like John Hunter, like I mentioned, Mike McDowell, Carson Hocevar, Ricky Stenhouse, LaJoy. You have all these different levels of experience in that race, and they were able to move back and forth. You had people who aren't normally at the front in the front. You had people who are normally in the back go to the front. It was so much moving parts and moving trucks that it actually was very entertaining, and it wasn't a wreck fest like you would expect the lower series to become.
Yep. Although, and this is something that I've kind of had a problem with, and I've brought it up quite a bit down the tail end of last year, and it's still a problem this year. And it's, for me, has been a problem at almost every type of racetrack, which tells me it's not necessarily a Daytona problem, but it's more a procedural problem. But the fact that we eat up so many laps of caution with every caution flag that comes out, especially when we have a clean finish to the stage end, so there's not even the caution is only out because of the stage end. The yellows end up eating up a decent chunk of the race time to the point where in this race we went 102, 103 laps, something like that, and we had 30 laps sacrificed to the caution flag.
But you got to think about it like this, because with this you have a pace lap to catch the field up to the pace car. You have the pit for the lead lap trucks, the pits for the lap down trucks, and then you also have the choose lap. So that's 4 laps right there that you're accounting for.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, especially it'd be nice if they could find some way to not eat up as many laps of caution.
Where are you wanting to get the laps back from? Because you need.
Well, I mean,
you have all this.
Like, they do have the quickie yellow procedure where they can open up the pits for all lead lap cars, and especially when you have a caution right after, when you have 2 cautions in back-to-back form, when you have 2 cautions in rapid succession, being able to just open the pit road that one time for all cars, because that is a procedure that they've had in place for years. Implementing that a little bit more to be able to cut at least one of the laps of caution.
But to me, on my side of it, and I enjoy the 4 laps they have for caution because it gives each team give time for procedure, time to strategize, stuff like that. Because like during the race,
well, and again, I'm not saying that every caution needs to be shortened down, but some of them definitely don't need to be the full, and some of them it feels like they go several laps beyond what they need to do.
Can I chime in here?
You're never going to have... Oh, my bad, Jamie.
So when it comes to the cautions, the only adjustment that you can really ask NASCAR to make would most likely be if there is a caution within 5 laps, we'll say, of like a stage end, because that's where you start to find like they will purposely like not even set the field green because it'll take a lap or two to get damage, like all the debris off the track, and then they have a lap where they have to open up pit road for the leaders. Then you have the lap down cars or the ones that got damaged will go down pit road again for the second lap. Then next thing you know, you're like less than a lap away from stage end. So then they just let them ride and caution lap to finish the stage. So why not implement a rule where if a caution comes out with 5 to go or less, then that is stage, and then just treat it as a normal caution and get those things rolling again. That's really the
Yeah.
only plausible thing that they could do when it comes to
I
these
mean,
cautions.
granted, I've said it a couple of times on this podcast. I'm personally in the camp that I think we don't even necessarily need the cautions at the end of the stages, but obviously we're a
Yeah,
long ways off from that change.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
but then
I'm
with
a
that-
fan of getting the cars back together and having them roll together because there would be since they've implemented like the stage breaks. When's the last time anyone said that they took an It's been a long time since
You
anyone's
cut
opened a
out
race.
there. You cut out
But he
right.
said, "Oh well." What was the last part you heard?
You cut out like literally right in the middle part of that sentence.
Hold on, I gotta move to a different spot.
But going on to this real quick, with those stations, and Jamie can agree or disagree with me because this is my opinion on it. With them having those stage breaks and the cars being racked up together, you'll have, so say, like Denny Hamlin. If they didn't rack up after, or like if that was a stage in instead of a caution, and they decided to go 2 and 4, that'd give him time to figure out what he wants. Or let me back up real quick. Let me give a different example. But like something like that, where you have stage in, but you could have slow cars in front of fast cars, right? Because they just pitted or something like that. This gives the opportunity for any vehicle or any car to gain positions. With them in like not having the stage breaks, then you're risking, say, anybody like say Chandler Smith is 15 seconds ahead. Without those stage breaks, he could stay 15 seconds ahead, and it doesn't make the racing fun. These stage breaks make the racing more competitive, more closer, and that's my opinion on that.
Especially in the truck series, we have enough natural accidents that bunch the field back up plenty. I mean, yeah, maybe if the truck races had a tendency to stay green for longer, but I mean, like,
But you got to think about it like this: the same things happens in the Cup Series. It all depends on you got to think about it. You're comparing experience levels, right?
okay, yep.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just.
All right, Jamie, did you want to chime in with your thing that you wanted to say before we move
Yeah,
on to the
I was
next
just trying
one?
to figure out, what did you actually hear, so I don't have to go through the whole entire thing again.
Literally, we didn't hear enough of the sentence to know what you actually said because it cut out literally right as you were getting to whatever point you were making.
Oh, okay. What I was saying was, when it comes to the only change that NASCAR could make when it comes to cautions is if it is within 5 laps to go and a caution comes out, rather than having to wait for the debris to be clear off the track, then pit road to be open, then give the lap down cars a chance to pit, and then you're like, oh well, we still only have like a lap until stage break, so there's an additional lap that you run on caution. if they could implement a rule where they just call stage on that caution within 5 laps, do the normal caution cycle, and then get those cars back rolling, even if it is before the quote unquote stage lap, then that would be a way that could help with these speeding up of the race. But when it
Yeah.
comes to the actual like stages, I'm for the stages because it makes it more fun. Seeing the cars like stacked up and rolling again. Because I don't know if you guys remember, I'm the old man of the group, but I remember going to Dover and sitting for 400 laps and get maybe 2 cautions, and I'm sitting there just watching cars get lapped left and right, and being like, man, this would be a lot more fun if that second place guy who looks to be quicker than him could actually get bunched up and see what we could do here, and just be sitting there begging for one and practically falling asleep during a NASCAR race.
All right. Well, I guess we can just move right on to the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race.
Sure.
All right. Well, yeah, Saturday afternoon / evening, we had the newly renamed O'Reilly Auto Parts Series taken to the track for what was, by all accounts, an entertaining race that was then dominated by the 21. But for us, that was not the car of the evening. As some of you guys, if you guys were here last week, would have heard, the Lap Down podcast was actually riding on board with O'Reilly Auto Parts Series driver Kyle Sieg and his number 28 Chevy Camaro. So everybody here at the Lap Down podcast, we were fixated on exactly where Kyle Sieg was doing, how he was doing in and around. Had a couple of very close calls that had us a little bit nervous throughout the race, but yeah, how did everybody enjoy that race?
It was a great race, and definitely glad to see Kyle Sieg come home with a 14th place finish. Definitely could have ended up a lot worse because there was some scrums, there was some wrecks there where I was getting closer and closer to that TV looking for that 28 car to see if he made it through.
Yep. Brett, Alex, you guys got anything you want to say about that one before I kind of go ahead and talk about it?
I'm actually quite proud of that, Kyle Sieg. He's not normally a high running driver, but with a P14 finish, it's pretty good. But I do want to shout out his brother who got a P3 in that race for Sieg Racing.
Yep. All right. And Alex?
I just want to say that proud of Corey Sieg for being in the top 15. Obviously we all here wanted better, but we can't control on the racetrack what he can do. But he did his best to do what he could do. I'm just happy he got in the top 15.
All right. So yeah, and then obviously once we look past our own what we were all fixated on, the race itself was actually pretty good, despite the fact that it was very much an Austin Hill and RCR dominated event. I feel like there was a lot of fun. There was a lot of interesting moments where the field was actually able to challenge the RCR cars, but then they kept control of the front of the field for about 90% of the race. But at no point did it ever really kind of feel like they had the field kind of beat.
No. The other thing I did notice, more specifically with the O'Reilly Auto Parts series, it seemed like the left rear tire was giving quite a few teams fits. You had Raja Caruth have left rear tire go down. You had who was it? Jeb Burton have a tire go down. Jesse, the wreck that was like quote unquote like the big one on lap 100 was started because of a tire wearing down. So I thought it was pretty interesting that we didn't really see that with the other series, but just specifically in the O'Reilly Auto Parts series, it seemed like the the tires had more of an impact on this race than anything else.
Yep.
Yeah,
So yeah, and by the way, just a quick update. Kyle Sieg finished 15th, not 14th. Small update, but still a top 15. Very impressive for him.
When I went on the
Um,
NASCAR app, it said 14th.
Yeah, I was literally just looking at it to see some of the other top finishers because there were some other finishers in the top 10 that I feel are needing of a shout out because obviously Brett mentioned Ryan Sieg, but Jordan Anderson was not all that far away from another potential runner up finish at Daytona, which yeah, he's had 2 runner up finishes there in the trucks. Now in the O'Reilly Auto Parts series, driver owner Jordan Anderson gets all the way up to 4th place. So a good run there for him. Wanted to give him his dues there.
Yeah, and
well,
oh, go ahead.
Alpha Prime's Brennan Poole was right there for the win, but the shot that he got from Justin Allgaier and Jordan Anderson is what knocked him up. But the save that he had was amazing.
Oh yeah, yes. I think we all thought that he'd lost that car, and then to see him still come home with a 12th place finish and the car still in one piece was insane.
Big
Just
facts
one
there.
other driver I wanted to shout out: Ryan Ellis inside the top 10 as well, driving the number 02 for I believe Our Motorsports. Yeah, just another impressive day from some of the small teams here at the track that really is the great equalizer.
Yeah, and I'll talk about Anthony Alfredo. Like, this man had every right to just pack up and go home with a crap start to Daytona. From thinking that he made it into the 500 only to get DQ'd, to trying to race in the truck race only to get not making it in his truck, but then wrecking another truck. But then he managed to
He didn't attempt to qualify for the truck race. That was the O'Reilly Auto Parts race where he attempted to qualify, and then had to make a deal with the Alpha Prime number 4 and Cesar Baccarella.
okay. But regardless, like, very, very rough weekend for him, but still coming out in that four car in the 11th spot. Not a bad end to his race weekend. When he had every right to just go home and feel sorry for himself, he found a way to get onto the track and he made the most of it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that was a very he persevered through a lot of stuff that, again, most of the drivers probably would have packed up and gone home. But as you mentioned, he was one of the drivers attempting to qualify for Daytona. The Daytona 500 had 41 cars in the field this year as Jimmy Johnson elected to take the open entry provisional spot. Can't for the life of me remember what they actually call that provisional. Was it like open car exemption or something like that?
Yep, that's exactly what it was.
Okay,
Good job.
it's the open car exemption. Okay, yeah. I don't know. They have some weird name for it. It essentially should just be called the promoters provisional or something like that, because that's how they call it at almost every local track around the country when you have a big star in attendance. But so 41 cars managed to make it into the field. As we mentioned, Anthony Alfredo, initially had raced his way in on speed, but then was knocked out due to a disqualification in the technical inspection line following his duel. And the first duel was almost as dramatic, with another driver getting in at the 11th hour of the race. He did actually get in on track, but man, was it not a smooth ride for Casey Mears to get into the field.
No, not at all. He was like, I've never been so happy to Had to fix up a car in my life.
Yep. Yeah, again, that first duel was insane with just how much. Again, we thought Corey LaJoy had that one on lock as he and the Roush cars dominated most of the early stint of the race. Yeah, I mean, I think we all thought that Corey LaJoy in the 99 car had the strongest car potentially of all the of all the open cars, but ultimately the caution late that kind of shuffled up the fuel cycle, along with a kind of mismanaged pit stop by some of the Roush cars, meaning that they didn't all come out together, led to him being in a position where, yeah, Casey Mears was close enough to make it happen, and Casey Mears went to the 500, and yeah, unfortunately, the 99 of LaJoy had to go home. And that was the weird thing is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go and finish your statement because I got a whole nother topic based around LaJoy and the open cars and things like that. So
Yeah.
finish up your statement there.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say because throughout both duels, outside of Alfredo and LaJoy, it really felt like the other open cars were fairly anonymous most of the evening up until when Casey Mears managed to sneak through the wreck on the very last lap to steal the spot for duel one. And then really in Alfredo's duel, I don't remember seeing BJ McLeod or who even was the other open car in that one. Was that JJ Yaley was the other one? Like, I feel like they were both pretty close to anonymous throughout most of the evening. Just kind of the weird thing there. It's weird to see the open cars that quiet.
Oh,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
you got to
looking
think
at
about like this.
go ahead.
Go ahead, Jamie.
But what I was going to say is when we were going off of like the original qualifying order, you had Corey Heim fifth fastest. You had Allgaier in 14th, LaJoy in 15th. And then you scroll down for a while and then you get to the likes of a Anthony Alfredo and BJ McLeod, Casey Mears, guys like that.
Yeah. Yeah. In
It-
fact, BJ McLeod, in fact, spots 41 through 44 on time trials were all open cars.
Yeah, and this is what I feel bad for because Corey LaJoy, like, he had a good car.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
it's almost one of those things like with the open cars, like I understand you have to race your way in and things like that. But if you're in single car qualifying and you are within like the top 15, there needs to be a conversation of potentially using like if three guys get in, then that limits the amount of spots that are available. And then if there's only one spot available because 3 out of the 8 drivers qualified in the top 15, then you need to put the other 5 cars in the same duel, and the highest finishing one of that one is the one that gets in. Because it was just a shame to see a car like LaJoy's kind of get the short end of the stick due to poor strategy in a heat race when he obviously was one of the top 15 fastest cars in the entire race.
Well, yeah,
out of the cars that came.
Yeah, and especially when you look at the time charts, he was 4/1000ths of a second away from passing Allgaier on the lap times, which would have put him in and bumped Allgaier into a situation where Allgaier would have needed to race for his spot.
Right. And I'm
4/1000ths of a second.
And I'm not saying I'm a big like Corey LaJoy fan by any means. But I do look on the side of fairness, and I don't really see that being fair to a team that was obviously faster than a majority of the field that was already getting in, not making it in due to a due to a heat race.
Yeah, well, and that's why a lot of people, and rightly or wrongly, were very much looking and have been clamoring for the end of the charter system, which obviously, due to the off-season lawsuit, doesn't look like that's going anywhere anytime soon. Because the fact that we have 36 cars that are locked into the field, no matter how far off the pace Ty Dillon is.
Yeah, but you got to think about, like, I'm going back to the point y'all were making because sorry, I was getting a phone call. But they give that up. Hey, if you're in the top two cars, the fastest two cars in the Open, you're locked in, right? So if and I know he was not that far off of Justin Allgaier, but he wasn't in the top two. But
Yep.
what you're pointing out is to put him into the race and just make it where there's one spot remaining.
Yep.
I know it sounds weird, but to me it's not fair to the Garage 66, the Live Fast Motorsports, the New York or in NY Racing, or the Beard Motorsports, because then you're putting them all in one race. With them having where they're split into two different ones, you're not having 5 open cars compared to 2 or 3. And look, say he was locked into that race. Like, say he got locked in on speed. He's still wrecked. And Casey Mears was able to take advantage of it. That's why the duels are there. Because then you have cars it's basically David versus Goliath with that. He was in a top tier 4. And then he lost to a non-top tier. But Casey
Ford
Mears earned his way in.
Yep.
You see where
I mean, the little team that could. And again, it's one of those things where I'm not sure I wouldn't hate it if it was if we changed it to the way that Jamie suggested, but also how often are we in a situation where 3 open cars are qualifying inside the top 15? And in my opinion, I'm not a big fan of having a rule that is kind of an audible on the fly like that, similar to the old rule that they used to have where they used to have it where um if let's say Allgaier or um who was the other one that time trialed in Corey Heim, if one of them was the highest finisher in their dual race, then it would default to the next fastest in time trials. I mean, that I feel like would be kind of the solution that Jamie was suggesting, but also I remember that causing a lot of confusion a couple of years ago when Ty Dillon finished 6th in his dual race, but did not make the race because of the fact that Cindric had beat him on time trials and had wrecked out earlier in that duel. So again, I feel like when you have a rule that's kind of opting in like that or could change the rules, it makes it more confusing for the fans, especially the fans in the stands trying to keep track of everything. And to an extent, again, it favors the teams that are able to bring that extra horsepower for single car runs when in reality, very rarely does single car speed end up translating into the main event into the races themselves. Like very rarely does the top 5 qualifiers in Daytona finish top 10 at the end of the 500. So again, I can see the points for both of those, though. Again, I can see the points where, yeah, would it be nice to have a fallback option for a guy like LaJoy? Sure, and I actually throughout the duels I had completely forgotten that they changed that rule a couple years ago. But I do remember again Ty Dillon losing out on a battle to one of the open cars and Cindric getting into the field. On because he had time trialed in faster than Dillon, even though Dillon put up a much more competitive dual race. So again, it's one of those rules where I could see it going both ways, and we could have instances of both ways providing a more competitive Daytona field. And it's just one of those where I think we're going to be going back and forth forever.
Yeah, or they could simply say, "Hey, we're going to allow 42 cars on this field, and have at it."
Yeah, well, I mean, at that point, just let all 45, 46 to show up, and
I do want to say I think this
Yeah,
was
more cars the better. Yeah.
and I say as long as we have pit stalls to accommodate them all, because I wouldn't want us having a situation where we're out of pit stalls. I don't know how many pit stalls there are at Daytona, and obviously, Fox takes up one with their new Arby's pit box that they were doing this year. But I do feel like we have one other thing I want to talk about with the duels before we move on to the actual 500 itself. And I think if you guys watched the entirety of the duels, you guys will know exactly where I'm going with this. But Fox, if we could absolutely so kindly ask you, please do not go to a full screen commercial break with 10 laps to go.
biggest complaint of
mean-
the 500. Fox.
Yeah, I mean, now to their credit, for the Daytona 500, I don't believe that we missed a single lap of green flag racing due to a full screen commercial break.
I don't think so.
If
I think they had the brief like Simpsons commercial where like, oh, there's a new episode of Simpsons, and they went back to like the
Yeah.
race. There was no full
Yeah,
screen
but that
commercial.
was like 40 seconds tops, which again, yeah, I'll let them have that 40 seconds. But the fact that during the duels, wasn't it? I think it was during both duels with like 10 laps to go, a full screen commercial break under green flag conditions with 10 laps to go. I mean, that is just absurd because, like, sometimes if they miss the first wreck of the 500 or even sometimes the first lead change, I can chalk that up to, yeah, they had no idea there was going to be a first lead change at that point, and you got to get advertisements in. You can figure out when the final 10 laps are going to be and get your ads in before that point. So, just again, slight suggestion, very kindly issued to NASCAR. Please don't do that again.
Is that a teaser as to what your black flag is going to be?
Yeah, probably. I don't know. Maybe I'll find something else to be upset about here in a few minutes. But one other thing that we also didn't mention, or we didn't kind of make a mention of, but when it comes to guys who were bumped out of the 500, Chandler Smith bumped out of the 500, won the truck race. So again, another bit of redemption there. One day to the next. So. But ultimately, we did have a 500-mile race at Daytona, and yeah, I think we should probably talk a little bit about it. As again, the Daytona 500 put on a pretty good show, honestly. Yeah, all things considered, I felt like it was one of the better 500s I've seen. Yeah, how did you guys feel watching it?
I definitely agree. I'm not a big fan of watching full races, but the Daytona 500, I always try to tune in all the way. And I understand the conditions made it a lot more stressful. There was a lot more cautions and wrecks because we were racing against the weather, which it panned out for us. But at the end of the day,
yeah, we didn't even have
was a
that many
fantastic
cautions at the end of the day.
it was a great race, regardless of anything. I felt like everything went well for some drivers. Obviously, for some, Chase Elliott especially is overly frustrated from how the ending went to play favor for Tyler Reddick with the dumb crash at the finish line prior to the one. I think it was out of turn 3 onto the straightaway. That really made it chaotic for Tyler Reddick. He somehow escaped all of that to get to the finish line. So very frustrated. Chase Elliott, he was right there, just couldn't get that horse going enough.
Oh yeah, and again, we'll probably get. We'll say, I'm sure we'll get to the finish when we go to talk more in depth about the race. But all in all, again, the race pace, say it went quick. And I say I feel like it was one of the quicker 500s I've seen in recent years. Also, they updated the fastest lap because earlier when I was checking and doing a couple of notes for the race, I noticed that they had Stenhouse listed as the fastest lap recipient, but apparently that was either incorrect on NASCAR's app or whatever because now it is showing Carson Hocevar having gotten the fastest lap of the day, which, given how the rest of his week went, he needed a little bit of good news because that truck race was a really rough time to be a Carson Hocevar fan. And the Xfinity race, or sorry, O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race wasn't all that much cleaner for Hocevar.
Yes, it's just a shame that they don't get a point for having the fastest lap.
They do.
Mm,
They do get a point for having the Xfinity fastest lap. That was added in last year, I believe. And I believe they kept that in with all the points changes with the chase coming in.
I don't remember if they kept it or not, but if they did, then cool. Then yeah.
Yeah,
But-
I'm pretty sure they did keep it around. But yeah, so obviously, I'm sure we all want to go ahead and talk about the final lap. So say if we just want to go chronologically with how it all happened, yeah, Carson Hocevar throwing some late blocks, trying to hold on to the lead of the race with one lap to go. Hard to blame him for blocking for his life because he was leading the Daytona 500, but ultimately a block gone wrong right in front of Eric Jones. The two of them spin down the field collecting Mike McDowell, and then something I don't feel like the TV showed overly well, but I saw it on a fans footage on Twitter today. The cars ended up actually back up in the racing groove, which, at least in my opinion, probably should have warranted a caution flag coming out. I know, obviously, that would have ended the race a half lap early, but yeah. Say anytime cars come back up into traffic, it definitely warrants a flag to slow everybody down for safety's sake. But yeah, and then obviously as we went further around the track, because they didn't ultimately throw the caution flag to end it, we had the second wreck on the front straightaway as they were coming back towards the start finish line when Chase Elliott, who was the race leader at that point, got turned up into the fence. And did he make it back to the line? Yeah, he made it back to the line. Yeah, he finished fourth, so yeah, he definitely made it back to the start finish line after that
He
one.
went
But
hard into that
Yeah.
wall. He went real hard in that wall.
yeah, I remember a lot of people were kind of worried to be like, "Hey, is he okay?" Because that was a hard hit.
Because I watched
But-
his crew react because they thought he was going to win, and they reacted to his crash, and they were like shocked because I was shocked too. I was like, "Holy shit, that was brutal for Chase Elliott right into that wall," because he got spun off his left rear bumper and just went straight into that wall. And they're flying down that racetrack. So one false move we saw with Allgaier, he blocked late high and got fucked by Danny Hamlin, yeah, that's what happens when you try to block high late, you get spun. So
Yeah, and I mean, Tyler Reddick came out of absolutely nowhere with that shot out of a cannon on the bottom, but ultimately Tyler Reddick able to claim that victory, claiming himself a lot of points on the day. Because he was up there throughout most of the day. He didn't earn any stage points in stage one, but he did earn some stage points in stage two as he was racing up towards the front. And then obviously got a lot of points for winning the race.
I didn't know Reddick was in that formation, and I didn't even know he shot out of the cannon like that. I just knew Elliott had the opportunity, and he just didn't get the last push he needed. But good on Reddick, man, for noticing the field was gonna just burst open in that wreck, because that was a awful, awful wreck that opened up a massive hole for him just to be thrown out of.
Yeah, I mean, now this might be something to have to look into, and obviously, it's just kind of something to I'm positing as a complete theory at this point. But I'm kind of curious if Elliot or any of his team might have been on the radio. Well, I would hope they weren't on the radio telling him that there was that the wreck about the wreck behind him. But if he thought that the caution was already out or was coming out, he may not have held it down as hard as he possibly could have, or thrown as many blocks as he would have if he thought they were still racing it to the line. It's one of those things that you always kind of think about when it comes to some of these, where the question is, what is NASCAR going to do? Because they have proven to be fairly inconsistent when it comes to these wreck on the last lap. What are they going to do? And
Yeah,
that's, I
because at
think,
the
where
moment
we're
of
going
that
to
caution,
yeah.
at the moment of that caution, he was 3 wide with Stenhouse and who was on the bottom side, because it was
I believe
Elliott,
it was
Stenhouse, and
I believe it was Elliott, Stenhouse, Reddick at the time. They were
Reddick.
3
Yeah,
wide. Yeah,
and
and
you can see
initially
that
when I
Reddick
saw
and
them hold,
Stenhouse. Yeah,
oops, sorry, go ahead.
I'm gonna say you could definitely look and see that Reddick and Stenhouse. They looked like they took their foot off the gas at some point, because like just a little hiccup with it, because they weren't sure if a caution was coming out. And then Elliott was the first to get back into the gas, and that's how he got that big lead.
Yeah, and one thing I even said as I was watching it live, I thought that maybe they were going to hold the yellow until there was a clear leader off of turn 2, and then they were going to throw it once anyone, which ultimately in this case it was Chase Elliott, emerged as the clear leader. Because obviously, when you have 3 wide like that, trying to determine time of caution and who was in the lead could be very tough. And if you can hold it for an extra 5 seconds to let them decide amongst themselves, at least then you at least have a clear winner. But then they decided to just hold the caution entirely and let them try and race it all the way back to the line, which again is just something that they've been consistently inconsistent with.
But what I will say is, they had something similar in the Rally Auto Parts series as well, about a wreck, and they just kept going green at that point. I think they made it a point where they wanted they did not want to start the year with a controversial call.
Again,
correct.
because
And
we were talking about this exactly 1 year ago at this 500.
but you know what we're not talking about? We're not
What are
talking
we not
about
talking
somebody
about?
already being locked into the playoffs.
That we are not.
So I am ecstatic. I looked into just how much does that one race win matter. You have Tyler Reddick as the leader, not just the leader because he won the Daytona 500, but he is 12 points higher than heat winner and 5th place driver Joey Logano. He is 15 points higher than Chase Elliott, who also won the heat race.
Yeah, and he sits 32 points above the cut line at the current moment.
Correct.
Which I will say, that's something I'm noticing that's kind of odd about NASCAR's app, is they don't have the playoff / chase points. So obviously, one race in, it's pretty easy to tell. And I guess since there's no winning, you don't really need that anymore to see just who the top 16 is. But it would be nice to be able to just focus in on like the 4 guys above the cut line and the 4 guys below the cut line, and see exactly like, okay, rather than having to do the math, like, okay, McDowell is 3 points behind Larson for the 15th position to try and get him in by more than one spot.
I do have a question. Do we think the weather might have played a part with them staying green on the wreck before the wreck at the finish line? Or do we think it was just NASCAR being NASCAR holding green just to get the race over with?
Well, again, that wreck on the wreck that took out Hocevar McDowell, that wreck was after they already took the white flag. So if they threw the caution flag there, the race is over regardless. So it wouldn't
Okay.
have extended the race at all. Yeah, it would have just been about trying to determine who the leader was at the time of caution versus waiting and seeing who survived to the start finish line, which ended up being almost nobody.
Because I was watching it and I was thinking, like, yeah, we were stalking the weather. So I thought it was, oh, it's the weather. They kept green because they were like, oh, we can get this done. And we just stay green. And then we're going to throw
Yeah.
the
Now if we'd had a wreck just before the start finish line, and they held the caution long enough to get to the white, I could definitely see that argument being made of, okay, we didn't know with the rain being so far out, but again, they were able to get through pretty much all of the post race ceremonies as well without the rain interfering.
They
So
were racing tight all day. They were 3 wide. What, the 95% of that race, 90% of that race?
yeah, and again, some of that is due to the car, which again, those of us who have watched a lot of super speedway racing in the next gen car, that 3 wide gridlock, while it looks entertaining, you really don't miss much in that time frame.
Because I was looking at Elliott and I was like, he's been stuck at 8 for like 6 laps because he's just in this gridlock. I'm like, he's not going to move at all because of this.
Yeah, I even had people in my chat saying, well, if I was one of these guys further back, I'd try and make a move. And it's like, make a move where? It's 3. It's 3 wide.
I think they went talked to one. They had one of the radios for the guys. Like, I can't. He's like, I can't go anywhere. I'm just stuck in this middle spot. I can't move anywhere. It's going to cause me to wreck up or down because there's nowhere for me to slip my car into.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's one of those things that just, I hope that they find a way to fix it, but realistically, it seems like it's a baked in issue with the car. So ultimately, I don't think we're going to be able to see that get fixed anytime soon. But before we move off of Daytona, let's just go ahead and head right on into our green flags and our black flags. So, Alex, you want to go ahead and start us off?
My green flag, even though there was a lot of cautions, like 5 cautions, 7 wrecks, the race was pretty much clean, regardless of what was happening. It was a fast race. It went by fast. The stages felt like they were nothing. Watching on TV,
Yeah.
how fast they were. And my black flag honestly has to go to Algier for not listening to a spotter by saying, yeah, Hamlin's high. Don't go high. And he still went high and fucked everybody because he's decided to block high on Danny Hamlin and he got spun out.
All right. Jamie, you want to go ahead and give your green and black flag?
Yeah, my black flag goes to I was gonna harp on Fox for the full screen cautions, but you kind of stole my thunder there, so now I gotta figure out something
Yeah,
new to complain about.
Sorry, I had to make my very gentle suggestion.
You did. I would say it's gonna be, this might be an unpopular opinion, but having Cletus McFarland in the truck series with the inexperience that he or lack thereof, I think that was more of a stretch to get him in the truck series than it was just keeping him in the ARCA series. Like, I know he's a name, he's drawing viewers just for his personality, which I am a fan of his, just from a personality standpoint. But I mean, it's one of those things where it could have went really bad had he
Yeah.
spun the opposite direction. And it just
Yeah.
showcases the skill and of everybody else compared to where he was at, and I don't think he was fully prepared for that moment, and they could have done better for him by not putting him in that spot.
Yeah, I mean, while I don't mind him being in the race, I also wouldn't have complained if they told him, "Hey, not this year, but hey, just have a nice clean year in the ARCA series, and we'll get you approved for next year." Because again, like I mean, granted, again, also with how unstable those trucks were, because the trucks really showed as something that we hadn't really seen the entire rest of Speed Week until, or we hadn't seen in previous years Speed Week. But the trucks were unstable in anything. I mean, obviously Cletus not having anywhere near the experience the rest of the field did, but I mean, Hocevar lost it once off of that same corner that wasn't a tire issue. Obviously, he had two tire issues that obviously weren't a skill issue. But I mean, Hocevar had an issue off that corner. There were like four other drivers who had issues off that corner.
Right.
So I mean, it was not, at least in my opinion, it wasn't specifically a Cletus issue, but it's one of those things where I would have been okay if they told him to wait a year
Yeah, and I
to make that
understand.
debut.
Like he wants to be out there to really with the sentimental value with his attachment to Greg Biffle and all the fans
Yep.
supporting him in the wake of everything that happened during the off season.
Well,
So I,
and
I get why he was out there.
yeah, and another reason why I'm more supportive of him over some of the other guys who quote unquote buy their way up the ladder system is that he's doing it largely out of stuff out of money that he made for himself versus just having a rich parent who's funding him coming up the ranks
Right,
or
right.
a grandparent that helped him through the ranks.
And it
So,
also helps that you have the personality of a Ricky Bobby.
well,
So
yeah, there's that too. So,
but
but
my green
yep,
flag is solely the decision, and again, we like to poo-poo on NASCAR a lot on this podcast, so I'm actually going to give them their flowers for actually making the decision to move it up an hour and to give us a fair shot of getting all 500 miles in, and it did just that. Yes, the weather wasn't coming in. It still wasn't fantastic with the 20-mile-an-hour gust of winds that definitely had an impact on some of the drivers when they were in the pack. But good on NASCAR for acting, uh, being proactive, and doing what they could with with the time slots with TV and everything like that to get it in as early as they possibly could. So good
yep.
job.
Yeah, again, that was definitely a great decision by NASCAR. Obviously, in hindsight, the fact that the weather was threatening throughout the entire second half of that race, keeping everybody on their toes. In reality, I think if they had started this race an hour later, I think we still got to the checkers, assuming that we kept the race the same level of clean. But this was an exceptionally clean 500 as well, based on prior precedent. So there was no way to predict that the race was going to stay this clean. So again, good on NASCAR for being proactive and making the decision earlier rather than waiting and seeing. Which that was actually going to be my green flag, so I will have to come up with another one. For the
Ah,
for the black flag, though, I will go ahead and I will. I'll go ahead and I'll just take the cop out. I'll go ahead and give my general suggestion again to Fox of please do not do that again with the caution with a full screen commercial break under green flag with 10 laps to go in any race. I don't care if it's a truck race. I don't care if it's a cup race. Don't do that again, ever. Because I feel like we've said that a couple of times recently. Like, what was it? Spring Talladega last year, where they went to a commercial break under green flag conditions with 10 laps to go as well.
yeah, I thought they would learn from that.
Yeah, it's not like it's the first time they've done this either, which makes it even more concerning. But for the green flag, I will go ahead and I will give it to something that I'm sure some people will take as a negative. But My boy Michael McDowell sets a new record at Daytona for the furthest amount of miles on a singular tank of fuel, as he managed to go 165 miles on a singular tank of fuel, besting Justin Haley's record from Indianapolis last year, where he went 160 miles on one tank of fuel. So,
I have absolutely no idea how he managed to do that. That is just bonkers.
yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people don't like the fuel saving in the 500, but hey, if I get a chance to brag on my boy, yeah, I will absolutely take that. I'm sure you guys would do the same if Elliott had done the same. But Michael McDowell sets the fuel mileage record.
He was the
Yeah,
one that
and
said when he was leading that he could make it the last 6 laps, right?
Yeah, he was right there. He was leading the bottom line when Hocevar had that crash with 1 lap to go. So
they
if it
said that
hadn't
he
been
had
for
saved enough gas to where he could have even withstood a green-white checkered as well.
yeah, that is insane. Again, I'd be curious to see if push came to shove if they actually were able to do that, but they were certainly going to try. And the fact that they even got that close to begin with is insane.
Yeah,
And
for
balls
sure.
of McDowell.
Yep. And again, it wasn't even like McDowell was in the back saving fuel the entire time. He was right up in the mix most of the afternoon and still able to fuel save that much. So, again, just goes to show an experienced super speedway racer being able to get it done. So, but I think we are all a little sick and tired of super speedway racing. So, from the high banks of Daytona, we have Atlanta Motor Speedway.
More super
More
speedway
super
racing.
speedway racing. Yeah, pack them right
The
back
hybrid,
together
though.
and
The hybrid. It is a hybrid.
yeah, it's
So
a
it's
mile and a
slightly
half super
different.
speedway. Yeah, it just means that there's one less lane one less lane for the cars to gridlock on. But yeah. So yeah, we do have Atlanta Motor Speedway this weekend though. Looking ahead to it though, I think you're going to see a lot of your kind of normal super speedway guys. Although this race does tend to favor the bigger teams, as opposed to Daytona and Talladega, where some of the smaller teams can usually get in there. I feel like this race does tend to favor your Penske, your back in the day, the Stuart Haas's, the Joe Gibbs Racings, being able to take a little bit more of an edge at these types of tracks compared to your Michael McDowell's or your MBM Motorsports, for examples. So, yeah, and I believe we say I don't know if you guys have anything you want to add about Atlanta before we get right into race picks.
When it comes to Atlanta, I actually, compared to Daytona, I actually like Atlanta's races a little bit more than Daytona. Like Daytona, you'll never beat the Daytona 500 solely for the nostalgia and the grandest stage of them all feel to it. But Atlanta has been becoming like one of those tracks that becomes must see for me.
Yeah, my biggest downside to Atlanta is mainly just how goofy kind of the pit road sequence is, where you have to be committed on the back straightaway. Yeah, and you have to just stay on the bottom all the way around versus trying to make that kind of being able to make that last minute pit decision.
Yeah, but that's just another interesting dynamic that they got to go with, and that also plays as a strategy piece for when we're talking about these crew chiefs and the chess games that they play when it comes to Atlanta.
Yep. Yeah. Again, for me, I've always kind of been of the opinion that when it comes to, especially if you're going to try and do a pack race, the wider the track, the better. Because I mean, even kind of like with Daytona this week, with 3 lanes of gridlock, at least you had 3 wide. At Talladega, there's room for 4 lanes of gridlock, so you can have 4 wide locked all the way around. At Atlanta, there really isn't room for more than about 2, sometimes 3 lanes of traffic, so there really isn't a whole lot of room for some of those kind of more wild moves. But I will say I don't hate Atlanta nearly as I don't dislike Atlanta nearly as much as some people online. Again, for me, it hasn't passed up Daytona or Talladega in terms of kind of must watch, but it's an enjoyable race. Again, I don't want to see them do this to other tracks. Leave it Atlanta as a special one-off type event versus making every mile and a half into another Atlanta. So, but let's go ahead and get right on into race picks, which means I need to get the Wheel of Destiny up. So, Jamie, you want to go ahead and say one more thing about Atlanta while I get the Wheel of Destiny up? Yeah, I kind of just spaced on the fact that I was actually going to need to have the Wheel of Destiny ready.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute, and I said yeah.
No, yeah.
No, Atlanta is definitely one of those courses where there seems to be a wide difference between the February race and then the second race, whether it be in the summer or fall range.
Well, yes, especially
I
when
don't
they
know
go and
what
put
it
it
is
in the
about that
middle of
track that makes the
July.
racing different. Yeah, but I'm just saying, I just don't understand what it is about that track that makes it significantly different. Probably just the heat makes the track a little bit more
Well,
slick, but
yeah, I would definitely say that it's probably at least to some degree the heat because with how jet black that pavement still is, and I say the darker the pavement, the more dynamic it's going to be to temperature changes based on the weather. Typically, the grayer the track surface, the less it's going to be affected by the ambient temperature.
right.
Obviously, if the ambient temperature is 30 degrees warmer, it's still going to be affected, but typically the grayer the track, the less the ambient temperature avoids it, and the more black it is, the more the ambient temperature affects the track temp. But I do have the Wheel of Destiny up. Let's go ahead and see who's going to be first. So, because I'm on my phone for my webcam, obviously can't show the Wheel of Destiny, but it is going to be Alex getting the first selection of the evening.
Oh God. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna go with the previous one in Atlanta last year. Give me Christopher Bell to do
All
it
right.
again.
Just a reminder, we are for anyone who's new here, you are only able to pick a driver twice throughout the year. I believe Alex remembered that. And if you want to make your swap now you can. But you just a reminder that you only get to pick a driver twice throughout the year
Yeah, so I'm
prior to
taking
the chase. So you're
taking
taking
Christopher
Bell.
Bell.
All right. Just wanted to make sure that you remembered that part about it because
I do.
for some
Yes.
people that could definitely have changed your opinion of taking Bell at a track like this versus a more traditional track. And Jamie is going to be the second pick.
Hey, I am going to take Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
All right, Ricky Stenhouse. Nice pick. Nice pick. And the third and final
I'm
pick.
going a little crazy here with the new last week that almost worked out for me. Let's see if Ricky Reckhouse gets me a better finish.
All right. And shock and surprise, I get the third pick.
Who would have guessed?
Yep. Who would have thunk it? But yeah, so I will be the third pick. I had Blaney last week. I'm definitely not burning my last Blaney this early. I'm probably going to try and save that second Blaney for later in the year. I've got a specific race that I think everybody probably is eyeing a Blaney usage for. But you know what? I'll go ahead and I'll take his teammate though, Joey Logano. Give me Logano. Last year wasn't the most consistent guy, but I do feel like tracks like here in Talladega are some of the few opportunities to use him, and that would be two of my. I can use him at two of the three super speedways remaining. So I will go ahead and I will take Joey Logano. And one last thing before we hop off, as per usual, I believe Jamie does have a trivia question for us. Jamie?
My screen's kind of frozen on my end.
Oh.
And I just want.
All right. Well, while Jamie reconnects, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Again, oh, yeah, we can hear you. For whatever reason on my end, it's saying that you're reconnecting,
hear
but
me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. All right. I'm not sure if he can hear us, but we can hear him, or we could. So, but yeah. So for any of you guys who are new to the Lap Down podcast, though, every week, pretty much every week, Jamie comes prepared with a trivia question. Sometimes it's about the upcoming race. Sometimes it's about the race that we just had. Sometimes it's about the winner. And sometimes it's something else that just piqued Jamie's interest this week. So, Jamie, you've got your trivia of the week, I assume?
I do.
All right.
All right.
Well, let's go
So
ahead and hear it.
As per usual, hands up. No Google searching. No Chat GPT. No AI privileges. Thank you for showing me your tens. And Ryan, what are you doing over there?
Reading the ingredient list of an Oreo. Maybe the answer's
right.
on there.
So
You
I was
don't know
doing
what
a
I could
little-
have, Brad.
I was doing a little bit of digging about Atlanta Motor Speedway, now Eco Park, and I was looking at what is something going on with these next gen cars at Atlanta. And since the next gen cars come available, my question for tonight is who has led the most laps in the next gen car?
Oh, most laps led totaled in the next gen car?
Correct.
Okay. It's an interesting one. I think I know who it is, but I very well could be wrong. Alex, you want to go ahead and take a guess?
I'm gonna go with Kyle Busch.
Ooh.
That's a good guess.
I think you have the right first name, but I'm going to go ahead and say Kyle Larson. I know he's dominated a few of those 500 lap races at Bristol. So I'm just thinking he dominates the 500 lappers. That's a lot of laps added to that total. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say Kyle Larson.
You're
Okay, we're both wrong, I'm
both
assuming.
wrong.
Yep.
The person who has led the most laps has so far ran and led 282 laps since the next gen merger at Atlanta.
Wait.
And that is Joey Logano.
Oh, you were only talking about next gen laps at Atlanta.
Correct.
I thought you were
I said
talking
that.
about. I thought you were talking about next gen overall. That's why I asked that follow up question
No.
about next gen overall.
No, I said next gen overall at Atlanta.
Okay. Yeah, connection's not great, so maybe it cut out the at Atlanta part.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Because then my Bristol logic completely doesn't matter when I said like, oh yeah, I'm taking Kyle Larson because of all those laps he racks up at the 500 lappers at Bristol.
Now, I was kind of wondering why you were talking about Bristol when we were talking about Atlanta.
Yeah, because I thought you said who had led the most laps in the next gen car, and I'm like, since the debut of the next gen car, and I'm like, okay, who's led the most laps in the next gen car? Okay, yeah, Larson.
I was thinking,
But
Logano,
as for
his name on my mind.
His Kyle Busch answer makes a lot more sense now. That Kyle Busch. So who was it, by the way?
It was Joey Logano with a total of 282 laps led. at
Okay,
Atlanta.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense too, because Logano was one of the few people to have multiple wins in the next gen car at New Atlanta. I believe it's only him and Byron that have multiple wins, if I'm not mistaken.
So I was actually just looking at that.
I know Byron
active
won too
drivers-
early.
Yeah, out of the active drivers, we're not including Jimmy Johnson. There are 5 drivers who have won twice at Atlanta. Kyle Busch, William Byron, Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, and Joey Logano.
Yeah, and only I believe Chase Elliott, Logano, and Byron are the only ones who have done it both at the new Atlanta. I believe the others had at least one of those at old Atlanta.
Correct.
So, all right, yeah. Again, that makes a lot more sense now that I know the full. Now that I hear the full question.
Alex got what I was throwing down.
Yeah, well, I guess the internet didn't want me to get this one right. So, good job to you, Jamie. Enjoy your point.
Yeah.
I'll get you next week. But yeah, and say I think that's everything though. Hopefully, everybody hopefully everybody has a good week. Of course, we got a full weekend of racing trucks, O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, both on Saturday, doubleheader Saturday, and then obviously Sunday 3 p.m. for the Cup Series. So hopefully everybody has
Thank
a
you
nice.
to our sponsors
Yep.
of the Alkali Project and Circle B Diecast.
Yep.
Kyle Sieg Racing. It was a pleasure being a part of your drive in Daytona. Thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of that.
And we'll let you know when or if pre-orders become available for that diecast. My guess is that the smaller teams typically don't go through the approval process to get diecast made, but maybe. But regardless,
Hey, even if we are not on it, I'm still getting it.
yeah. Even if we aren't on it, I'd still be interested in getting it. But again, we'll let you know when and if pre-orders for that come available. But when they do, check out Circle B Diecast for all your diecast needs. But until then, I think
That's
that
right.
is everything. So we will see you guys next week after Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Deuces.
All right, and then we all have to leave to actually get it to end. So I will talk to you guys
when
next
you
time.
leave, don't close out the app. Let it actually fully load
Upload our audio
before you exit out of the app.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. I'll talk to you, Alex.